What is going on, everybody? The final countdown is here. Just about 24 hours until tomorrow night's draft and the whole draft this weekend. I want to remind you guys to come back here tomorrow, Friday, Saturday for my live stream of the draft. Going to have live reactions, draft grades, even going to have highlights this year. Really looking forward to the live stream. I know you got a lot of options out there to consume this draft, so I appreciate you choosing TFG for the draft. Also, hit that like button down below. Let's get into the final mock draft of the year, baby. This is going to be my first, last, and only predictive mock drafts. So you can, bring on all of the "this will never happen" comments this time, because this is actually me saying what I think will happen. So go ahead and tell me how wrong I am and how your team is never going to do what I think they're going to do, because it actually applies here. Let's go ahead and get started. The first pick, Trevor Lawrence. They already gave the damn guy the playbook, so we're good to go there. Zach Wilson, same thing. That's been a lock since January. So the conversation really starts with the third pick, with the San Francisco 49ers. So it is going to be Trey Lance here for me, or for them, what I think happens. I don't think you give up all those picks to come up for, I don't know, guaranteed health Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that what Mac Jones would be for them? Maybe. I just have a super hard time believing that Kyle Shanahan, who I just have so much faith in, would make that move. If he does, it'll be interesting to break that down. But I do think they go Trey Lance. One note here, I have actually bumped Trey Lance up to quarterback number 3. These sort of intangibles are something that you need to try to project at quarterback. And it's not just the Niners here electing to not go with Justin Fields after they've had months to vet these guys and understand their football acumen, if you will. But also just the glowing reports from the Falcons as well, just in love with Trey Lance. And it sounds like there's no way Trey Lance will get past Atlanta if the Niners do go Mac Jones here. So you never want to overreact to rumors and leaks and stuff like that. And I definitely don't think that's what I'm doing here. But we have reached the point where this is beyond a rumor. Like, the consensus opinion around the NFL is that Trey Lance has an incredible work ethic and that this kid is going places. And when the needle was literally wavering, like right on the middle, if you guys have followed my draft analysis, going back to my first evals on these guys since January, I have been neck and neck with these guys. So to me, it is enough just to slide that needle just a little teeny tiny bit past Justin Fields. You can see the grades here: 6.52 for Trey Lance, 6.51 for Justin Fields. That's just an update on my quarterback rankings there. Tomorrow I will have a quick top 10 look at every position ranking. But yeah, it's not like it's enough to push Mac Jones over Justin Fields or anything. But we are going to go with Trey Lance, my now QB3 to the Niners, who is going to be set up for an incredible career there with Kyle Shanahan. And then Atlanta at number 4. This is difficult, but I do think that with the contract restructuring of Matt Ryan, that is them saying they are in win-now mode. And I can't think of a better piece to try to win now than the best player in this draft, Kyle Pitts, and plug him into that offense with Arthur Smith. Going to see a lot of 12 personnel with him and Hayden Hurst. You're going to see the opportunity to flex him out in the slot, learn some of those receiver crafts from 2 of the best route runners in the league. And yeah, man, Kyle Pitts could get them back to being a top 5 offense, which Atlanta's a long shot, but if you have a top 5 offense, it's going to give you a chance. And then the Bengals at number 5. The consensus opinion is that people think the Bengals are going to go with Jamar Chase, and I think it's pretty much a coin toss, and I really struggled with this one, but to me it's just, I can't imagine them sitting there on draft night and just leaving the protection of Joe Burrow's career coming off an ACL injury like up in the air. When you have that 5th pick, when the best offensive lineman in this class is available, when Penei Sewell is the player he is, and the scheme fit that he is with his ability to get up on the move, it'll help Joe Mixon as well. I could easily see them going Jamar Chase, and I think it's really a can't-lose situation. There shouldn't be this big heated debate about it, because either way they go, I think they're going to be very happy with the player they end up with. But I do think they're going to end up going with Penei Sewell. I know that front office really likes him as well. So that's going to be my prediction, is Sewell at 5 and Jamar Chase at 6. There's been some recent leaks that that the Dolphins really, really like Jalen Waddle. I don't get it, man. I wouldn't get that from their perspective. I get that might be the way they go, and maybe it is, but you have Will Fuller there, you have your speed. I mean, how much deep speed do you need for Tua, who can't throw the ball all that deep? He doesn't have a very good arm. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans, it's true. Get him Jamar Chase, who's going to be that alpha number one receiver, take some pressure off Devontae Parker. Second best player in the draft for me. So I think that is the route they end up going, despite these Jalen Waddle rumors, but I do hear them and understand that could be a possibility here. And now we have one of my most favorite bold predictions that I am convicted in this. I'm not just doing this to make noise. I don't do this stuff just to make noise. Like, I know I just said that, but I'm serious. This is an actual prediction that I could very well see happening, and I'm going to explain a lot of reasons why this could be the case. The Detroit Lions trading down with Justin Fields sitting there. That's not a surprise. That's not a bold take. But the team coming up here is going to be the New Orleans Saints, all the way down from the 28th pick, reminiscent of when the Kansas City Chiefs moved all the way up for Patrick Mahomes. Let me get started on why this makes sense. Number one reason right here is you have strong bonds between these two teams. Obviously, you have Campbell, the head coach there, coming from New Orleans, but also Glenn, the defensive coordinator in Detroit, was the defensive backs coach for New Orleans. And I'm not going to get into necessarily the exact assets here, but you're looking at 3 first-round picks, including the one this year, and then either more picks or maybe a player. Maybe you can lure out a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson who Aaron Glenn has worked with, or something like that. I don't know the exact details here, but that is going to be the move. So you have the connections there, two sides able to strike a deal. It makes sense for Detroit because, honestly, looking at this board, I like the players that they're going to be able to get at the end of the first round. Depth at receiver, depth at tackle. You can get a very good player there, and then you're going to have basically 6 first-round picks over the next 2 years. That is how you rebuild a team. And that's a lot more than you're going to get from like New England or something. So I really like that move from Detroit's perspective. And for New Orleans, it makes so much sense for them. First of all, we were talking about the coach here, Sean Payton, who I don't know if he's ever heard the word no in his life. He gets what he wants, and if he likes Justin Fields, I can imagine him liking it. They'll find a way to make this happen, especially if he's available at 7. But it also helps their cap situation. Not only does it actually give them upside, not only is it following suit with what the Niners have done, with what the Rams have done, giving up a bunch of first-round picks to go get that quarterback, right? Stafford, and now we had the Niners coming up for Trey Lance. Now the Saints doing the same thing, following the arms race of quarterbacks in the NFC, giving up similar draft capital to do it. But it also helps their cap situation. It's going to help you pay Ryan Ramczyk, pay Marshawn Lattimore. The value of that rookie contract cannot be explained away enough. So this is the move. The New Orleans Saints, who was leaked a rumor today that they are interested in moving up, and in their situation, I can't imagine it makes sense to really move up unless it's for a quarterback. And what a spot it would be for Justin Fields, who doesn't need to start day one, but he probably would over Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. So that's my prediction. I am predicting the Saints to move up. It could be with Detroit. It could be with another team later. But in the 7 to 10 range, I'm going to predict the New Orleans Saints come up and be the team that goes after Justin Fields, which is a take that I'm really excited about. And if it hits, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun to see. All right, number 8, the Carolina Panthers. Kind of worst case scenario for them with Pitts, Sewell, and Chase all gone. So we're going to take Rashawn Slater. He is that high floor left tackle. If you want to find out if Sam Darnold can play football, let's get him an offensive line in there. Rashawn Slater, probably the best day one impact at left tackle, even more than Penei Sewell, at least from a pass protection standpoint. Kind of a great spot there for Carolina. Could very well see this being the case in real life. Then the Denver Broncos at pick 9 just traded for Teddy Bridgewater. To me, that does signal that they are not in on the quarterbacks in this draft class. I don't agree with that decision-making, but it is what it is. And I think this was going to be a trade-up candidate. And another trade-up here that I'm going to predict from the Arizona Cardinals for Jalen Waddle. And I know I've done this in my what I would do mock drafts, but I saw a report. Arizona Cardinals really like Jalen Waddle, and it makes so much sense for all the reasons I've been talking about. Kyler Murray, not a intermediate passer at all. That is one of the worst in that middle bubble of the shot chart in the league at quarterbacks, but deep, outside the numbers, exceptional. And that is how Jalen Waddle is going to unlock this offense. Get that true deep threat in there, very similar to how Russell Wilson operates with that short height, really using DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett outside and deep. And on top of that, Jalen Waddle in this offense that runs a ton of screens can be an exceptional catch and run option as well. And he run blocks, which they lean on these receivers in these 4 wide sets to do a lot of. So I understand why they like him so much, what a fit it would be, but I do think they'd have to trade up to do it. And for Denver, I like the players that they're going to be looking at their positions of need middle in this draft. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Patrick Surtain just going to keep on moving. I mean, he is that press 3 cover corner. My top graded defensive player in this class. This, to me, is probably the most likely draft pick after the first 2 picks. Then the New York Giants are going to take Micah Parsons. And I feel like I keep saying this point, but with Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator there, former linebackers coach, you also have the Belichick ties. I think they're going to highly, highly value Micah Parsons and his potential ability to grow, but also to grow their defense around him and the ways that they can use him as an edge occasionally, as a blitzer. They run a ton of 3 safety sets as well, which will protect Micah Parsons, let's just say, inexperience in coverage. Love the scheme fit so much, and he fits the kind of mentality of, I think, what the direction they're going to go. Then the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 12. I'm going to predict J.C. Horn here, so this is where you kind of start to get that variation in my predictive mocks and my what I would do mocks, because I'm not quite as high on J.C. Horn, at least as a top 12 pick, with a player like Devontae Smith on the board that's really going to help out Jalen Hurts. But we saw the fall of a CeeDee Lamb last year, and he's 185 pounds, and the league is going to knock players that are this slender. It just is the way it is. I'm not going to say I agree with that, but I do think Devontae Smith might get pushed down, especially when you look at the depth of talent in this receiver class. So J.C. Horn, the pick, a top cover corner that others seem to perceive a little bit higher than I do. Not that I don't like him or that I wouldn't like this pick. It's just not the pick I would make necessarily. But he's going to be the number 2 corner day 1, opposite of Darius Slay. And they can really actually have a pretty solid defense, honestly, with that front 4 that's still pretty much intact from that Super Bowl pass rush. But J.C. Horn to the Eagles, pretty good pick. Then the Chargers, gonna go with Christian Darrisaw. This is right there with Patrick Surtain, is like, assuming the board falls correctly, that's gonna be their guy. And that's very straightforward. That left tackle is a huge need. I bet 80% of mock drafts have this pick right there. Then I'm gonna predict another trade here at 14 with the Minnesota Vikings. They just can't keep paying for their sins of not having an offensive line here. But with those top 3 tackles gone, I would look to trade down. It's a team that doesn't have a second-round pick, so not that they're going to get a second-rounder here, but to just get more draft capital that you can maybe use to come back up into the second round or just to have more darts to throw later in the draft. But it's going to be the Miami Dolphins moving up in this situation. We've seen this be a team that is very willing to navigate the draft. And after you took a receiver earlier, I do not want to miss out on a tackle, and a tackle like Tevin Jenkins, who just from a mauling run-blocking perspective fits exactly the type they're looking for. He is probably what they maybe hoped Robert Hunt could have been, but I really like the decision that they came out and outwardly said, Robert Hunt, going to play guard. They traded away Flowers. So this offensive line, I can start to get behind this. And you could even go center in the second round, and all of a sudden it's looking like a strength for this team, and this offensive unit around Tua could just be glowing with talent. But I got to come up and get Tevin Jenkins, because I know that Denver at 16, who just traded down, would definitely be thinking about him, and the Las Vegas Raiders at 17 would certainly be thinking about him. So for them to come up, get Tevin Jenkins, they have plenty of draft capital to make that move. And you walk out of here with Jenkins and Jamar Chase. It's a good job by Miami. Then the New England Patriots just sitting here at 15. I do think they go with Mac Jones. I just don't see the Bears or the Washington football team really trading up to jump them. And I think for the Patriots, just to use that one pick to get something in there that you can feel better about in 2022, 2023 at that quarterback position. They're very comfortable with the style that Mac Jones is going to bring to the table, having had Jimmy Garoppolo there. Tom Brady, obviously, comparable style player there with Mac Jones. You've also got the Saban connections. I think this is the direction they're going to go if he's there. Then the Denver Broncos trading down, going to take that gamble on Caleb Farley. You're already gambling the entire season on Drew Lock, so why not gamble first-round pick on Caleb Farley and just hope he can stay healthy? The reports seem pretty good. I do think there's going to be teams scared of that, especially a team like Philadelphia, who they've seen their share of injuries. I don't know if they're going to want to play around with that back injury. But for Denver, he doesn't need to play right away. You can really make sure that back is fully healed, 100%. Don't risk re-agitating it because you have Fuller and Darby or Roby, whichever one signed there. And he can sit, or you can start one of those guys. Well, you have Callahan too, but Caleb Farley is the definition of a Vic Fangio-style corner. So comfortable in those quarters coverages that they love, those man match. Just perfect fit and a potential steal, like to move down from 9, you could still be getting a top 7 or 8 player in this class because of the injury risk. Just falling for that reason. And then the Raiders at 17, this is going to be the Devontae Smith pick. I mean, this is John Gruden's type of player, right? Like 4-year starter at a big program and just a guy that was productive, a hard worker. It just kind of fits exactly what they're looking for, but it's also a huge need. At receiver, you're reuniting him with Henry Ruggs. And I could absolutely see this one happening, hence why I predicted it to happen. Then the Minnesota Vikings at 18, going to be trading down and taking Elijah Vera Tucker. Plug him in at left guard or start him at left tackle. It doesn't really matter. You're going to have now him and Ezra Cleveland, who showed some nice things. You can figure out those two guys, both very flexible. They can figure out where those guys need to play best for their system. I like Elijah Vera Tucker at left guard. I like him at left guard in this system. He's very commanding in the run game, and he won't have to reach quite as far because he can get up on the move, but he is not like, he's not an elite tackle as far as like climbing outside and really sealing off like outside linebackers and safeties in the outside zone game, like a Trent Williams, for example. You put him at left guard, you can really see those run blocking traits shine through, and he's a phenomenal pass protector too, to limit some of that interior pressure that comes through pretty frequently against Kirk. So I like the idea of moving down. Probably get, some sort of 3rd, 4th round type of deal. I'm not doing the trades here just to kind of keep this thing moving, but you guys can pull up that trade chart and kind of do the math yourself. Then the Washington football team got an inside source that they're all in on JOK if he's there. And they're going to pull the trigger, I think, here if he's there. So pretty simple selection there. Him with Ron Rivera, just perfect pairing. And it's kind of a missing piece for that defense. And him and Collins kind of playing that sort of bandit overhang on both sides of the defense. Whew, that's a good modern coverage unit, especially with the pass rush in front of them. Then we got Greg Newsome here to the Chicago Bears. He's a local guy from Northwestern. They'll have done plenty of research on him, and he fits their system. This is still the Vic Fangio kind of regime, if you will, and they do like to run their quarters, match zone, off coverage, and Greg Newsome can play that perfectly. Good value as well. I see him in this 20 to 32 range of picks, and a huge need after they let Fuller go. So that's going to be the pick and the prediction right there. Then the Indianapolis Colts at 21. So I would personally be going with Samuel Cosmi, but it seems the league's a little bit lower on him. Could be those shorter arms, could be the lack of sustained success in college, but I'm going to go with Kwity Paye as the prediction here. Getting the value now at edge as a potential drop-off at that position happens, and then and maybe in the second round we target a tackle, or maybe you could make a push for a Mitchell Schwartz or something along those lines, maybe a Eric Fisher or something like that. But the Colts definitely need an impact at edge, and you're going to get the best day one impact in the class, especially to be safe. Like, I don't see the Colts being the aggressive team that rolls the dice on a Jalen Phillips necessarily. I don't think that's really their mindset with that front office. That tends to be a little more on the safe, long-term build type of philosophy. Then the Tennessee Titans going to go with another kind of maybe bold prediction here, but maybe not so much. I'm going to say Asante Samuel Jr. to the Titans. I'm going to buy into the fact that Mike Vrabel, having played with Junior's dad, Asante Samuel, they're going to have a connection there. But not just that, he is a scheme fit. Asante Samuel projects as one of the best man corners in this league. He's in this draft and potentially in this league. But you can draw some comparisons to Jair Alexander coming out. who was a little bit undersized but uber athletic, can go man, can go zone. And this defense does have some of those Belichick disciples. They are one of the more man-heavy teams in the league. They just lost Adoree Jackson, seemingly for cap reasons, and very good kind of athletic plug back in Asante Samuel Jr. there. And then the New York Jets at pick 23. I am going to predict Gregory Rousseau coming off the board here for the Jets. I've drawn the comparisons now for Robert Saleh, who was a part of the committee that chose Arik Armstead over DeForest Buckner. And when I see Gregory Rousseau play as that bigger-bodied edge who can be an impact rushing from the inside on later downs, I see a very similar type of player. Also, something like a Calais Campbell or a Michael Bennett, who have had their best seasons in their career in these Seattle-rooted defenses. And to me, Gregory Rousseau is that player, and would be a great opportunity for a young defense to step in. Good counterpart to Carl Lawson. I just believe that Robert Saleh, who's going to have a say in who they pick here at 23, is, as a defensive guy, is going to look at Gregory Rousseau and say, this guy has the tools. I can coach this guy up to be a high-end impact for our defense and fill a role here in this wide nine defense that we need. So Gregory Rousseau to the Jets, a phenomenal scheme fit. And I like the value as well. I think the NFL, someone's going to be higher on him than all of these people on Twitter that think he's a second or third round prospect. Pittsburgh Steelers, Najee Harris is the prediction. I know Steelers fans just want to see something else, anything else. A lot of Steelers fans are happy about this too, but I do think this is the route they go. It's either this or offensive line, but honestly, this running back class is not that exciting. And if the Steelers want to have an elite run game next year, yes, they need to upgrade the offensive line to do it, but I think you can do that later. This running back class actually isn't all that good. Maybe you could get Javonte Williams in the second, but just take Najee Harris now and figure out those other positions later. It sounds weird to say that about running back, but this class really, it doesn't stack up to some of these deep running back classes in years past, and it's not like there's a bunch of good free agents sitting there available right now either. So invest in running back now. You get a cheap 5-year contract, and it's not the worst thing you can do is draft a running back in the 20s. I've never been fully on board of like the whole never draft a running back in the first round thing. I think it can make sense for a defensive-oriented team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then the Jacksonville Jaguars. I am going to predict Pat Freiermuth. I just think he's a player that's going to be valued higher in the NFL, knowing that there is this dearth of talent at tight end across the league. And it's not like the Jags are going to have an opportunity to really bring in a bunch of upside at this position. So take the guy now, and then you have a couple of second-round picks to address some of those other spots later. But he's also a big help for Trevor Lawrence. A lot of people in the league like to say that a tight end is a quarterback's best friend, especially a rookie quarterback. Well, Pat Freiermuth coming in here can be that short to intermediate option for Trevor Lawrence and generate a lot after the catch as well. I like how he fits with Marvin Jones and DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault there. With a decent offensive line in front of him, this is how you build around a young quarterback. We saw the Ravens do this as well with a couple tight ends in that draft with Lamar Jackson. But then we get the Cleveland Browns. This is going to be the Jalen Phillips selection. A bit of a luxury here. Not necessarily that he needs to sit and develop. I think he could be a day one impact. But Clowney's not going to be there forever, especially because they're going to have to start paying Baker Mayfield. That fifth-year option climbs up. All of a sudden, that cap space is going to start becoming an issue for them. So it's not like Clowney's a long-term answer there. And you can now have an actual long-term running mate with Myles Garrett, assuming that Jalen Phillips is able to have a long-term career and those concussion question marks don't come back. But I think this is a team that is in position to take a luxury pick like this, and I think him and Myles Garrett could be electric. I think Jalen Phillips is probably a better pass rusher than Jadeveon Clowney, to be completely honest, in day one. I think that's not even that big of a take to say. Then we've got the Baltimore Ravens. Going to be Rashad Bateman. He is such a great stylistic fit for them. He is an intermediate demon, like short to intermediate game. Think of how like Michael Thomas is used, and that is where the shot chart for this passing game is oriented. It's crossing routes, in routes, slants. That's Rashad Bateman's best skill set. He can get off press. He run blocks. He is the perfect Baltimore Ravens receiver, and he'll be a reliable target and a playmaker for Lamar as well that we've all been waiting to see. Then the Detroit Lions, after the blockbuster trade down Could this be any better situation for them getting Christian Barmore, who I could see being like a mid-round trade down target for them? I know it's a different regime, but they've had success going to this style of player out of Bama in Deshaun Hand. That interior defensive line piece is a massive hole for them outside of Deshaun Hand, and Darrisaw being available this late is too good to be true for them to pass up. I could even see them maybe like moving back up to get him or something like that with one of these picks we just made, but a home run pick after collecting a ton of future assets, maybe even another player in that New Orleans trade. So, whoa, great pick for Detroit. And then pick 29 with the Green Bay Packers, we're going to take fullback Ben Mason. This team, really all they need, they have everything in place. They have elite cornerbacks, elite receivers. They have brought their entire offensive line back. They let their running back go, but we can address that later. But to get an elite run-blocking fullback, then the Green Bay Packers at 29, going to go with Elijah Moore. They've been linked to this team. Now, Brian Gutekunst has a lot to prove as far as, not just drafting a receiver in the first round, not just giving Aaron Rodgers help, but to draft a receiver that's under 6 feet tall, that can actually separate, that can run a route, that doesn't have agonizing drop issues. I have serious doubts that they will pull the trigger on this, but they have been linked to him. It makes way too much sense to finally give some sort of a catch-and-run playmaker and a guy that can separate on a 3rd and 4 for Aaron Rodgers, not named Devontae Adams. So it'd be a dream scenario for the Packers if they can get him here. Plus, with Newsome and Samuel gone, there's not a corner here that I would value enough to take. And we're going to predict Elijah Moore. Then the Buffalo Bills, Azeez Ojulari. I compare him to Jerry Hughes. They need some just help with that pass rush. And it really comes down to you have age in Jerry Hughes. You can't count on him forever. I think he's already started to show some signs of slowing down. And then you have A.J. Epinesa, who's a good kind of number 2 piece that's still kind of developing, but they just need some sort of a future with that pass rush, with the lack of talent in this interior defensive line class. The pick's going to be Azeez Ojulari. And then the Baltimore Ravens, going to be Joe Tryon, my prediction here. That edge spot is a huge need, and while I feel like you can get Cam Sample later, who's a comparable player, the odds of them feeling the same way are pretty small. And Joe Tryon is the exact type of edge player that the Ravens like. Long arms, quick off the ball, pocket-pushing power rusher. Think Matt Judon, think Pernell McPhee. That is what they look for. I think they will value him even higher than the NFL already values him, even though this is the first time that I've personally mocked him in the first round. Then the Tampa Bay Bucks at 32, another player that he's probably just going to go in the first round. You get that 5th-year option on there as well, Jason Owe. These edge guys, Shaq Barrett's going to be there for a while, but I think that Jason Pierre-Paul is getting near the back end of his career, and I can't think of a much better spot for Jason Owe as far as a coach that'll develop him in a 3-4 scheme that can utilize his athleticism. He can rotate in and out, play maybe 250, 300 snaps, get up to speed, learn how to play football. And worst case scenario, I think he has just as good of a chance at turning out as a tight end as well, so he can learn from Gronk and become a tight end of the future there after he let O.J. Howard go. Obviously a joke, but I really don't like Jason Owe's game at all. But I do think it's a likely landing spot for him, and I'd give him a good chance of working out there because development and coaching paired with this type of athletic upside, we've seen it work out plenty of times in the NFL. So I wouldn't say it's the worst pick in the world. It's just not what I would personally do. So there is my predictive mock draft. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, man. I'm probably going to be right about 3 or 4 of these picks because it's just the way it goes. Usually the experts, the Kuipers and McShays of the world, only hit 7 or 8. So I'll take 4 or 5 hits on this list. Really excited to see if that Justin Fields trade up hits. I'm thinking it, man. I'm thinking they might get aggressive and not want to sit this year out. Just hoping Jameis can turn a corner. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe. Come back tomorrow for the draft stream. And let me know in your thoughts down below if you think your team will be going in a different direction than I predicted in this mock. But until next time, guys, peace. We'll see you later.